right. Welcome to the I'm a Practicing Musician podcast, where we explore what it means to be a practicing musician from perspectives spanning music educators to famous musicians. I'm your host, Jake Douglas, and I hope you're ready to be blown away today. I'm excited to announce Geoff Jensen, product manager or product designer, rather, for Practicing Musician. With a background in classical piano and electronic music, Geoff has explored various facets of the music world, from DJing to producing ambient and dance tracks. His lifelong passion for music now fuels his work in creating innovative products for musicians. And apparently I cannot speak today, but hopefully that'll get better over time. How you doing today, Geoff?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Yeah, I feel you on that. So maybe some caffeine will get us in there and going
Nice.
full
I
speed
got
ahead.
water.
Yeah. Hey, there we
We'll see
go.
what
Cheers to that.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I got to start by asking, in your view, what does it mean to be a practicing musician?
Yeah. I think to me, a practicing musician is anybody with a passion for music who engages with it on a regular basis, in whatever form that may be. If a
Hmm.
person's just tootling around on a guitar and getting into it, um, there it is. If it's somebody who is, engaged in electronic music and watching YouTube tutorials on it, getting out there and doing it. Yeah, active engagement with music.
Nice. And so what enticed you to become a musician?
You know, that's interesting because as a kid, I think I started. I was playing piano. Um, I think that started probably when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and it must have been Christmas of what would that be, like 88 or 89. And my parents got me a little Casio keyboard, and I thought it was just the coolest thing ever because you could, like, press the keys, plays music, obviously, but then you could change the sounds in it, and suddenly the same keys that you played would be this completely different sound. And I was just like, whoa, that's so cool. And as I was thinking about this, I realized that I think that might be where, like, my creative process came from.
Hmm.
When I'm working on music now, I'll just sit there like with sound patches and the and just like go through and like, ooh, that's a cool sound. I can hear something in there, and extract that into a thing. So I think that was probably the moment on that little tiny, like, 3 octave Casio keyboard.
Hmm.
They had the classic Casio, like, samba beat in there. You could jam out. So, whoa! It's just the song is in the keyboard. This is so cool. And then went from there. My sister was giving me some key lessons, and then we moved into a new house. We had more space, and that's when I got the first piano. But yeah,
Hmm.
really, my parents really encouraged me to dive in and explore that. Without that prompt, as with many things when you're a kid, like, you wouldn't know that you're into it unless your parents like, hey, have you tried soccer? Have you tried a musical instrument? But yeah, my parents really facilitated that, and yeah, I'm putting it on that Casio keyboard for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for just giving a kid an instrument and not giving them lessons.
Hmm.
Just have fun. So,
Yeah,
did you eventually end up taking lessons or?
yeah. So my sister knew how to play, and I'm trying to remember how often. Well, it was so long ago, but let's say it was like once a week or something like that. She would come over and teach me the basics. Um, like, here's a C chord, here's an A chord, what a chord is. And then she got busy with college, and one of my best friends down the street was taking piano lessons from, like, a super top tier piano organist. Is like uh, his performance specialty, but he was also a piano teacher.
Hmm.
And basically, my best friend who lives down the street, and I would do everything the same. So, like, if I was taking soccer lessons, he would take soccer lessons. He was taking piano lessons. They're like, sweet, who's your piano teacher? So I started taking piano lessons then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I continued with piano lessons for quite a while. I want to say, let's see, that would have been like early 90s. Yeah, so I was taking classical lessons anywhere between like 7 to 9 years, something like that. Yeah,
Oh,
almost 8.
wow. And so now you're more in the electronic music space. Can
Mhm.
you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, um, I was raised. My parents they love pop music from all eras. They were born in the '40s, So they had the music from their childhood. So I had that in my repertoire. 50s, they were in, their teens, 60s in high school and college. And then 70s, out there doing their thing, disco and like a lot of folk music. The 80s is, I just have so many great memories of listening to 80s music in my dad's car, driving through central Washington and just like, blasting out some Phil Collins. And so like I really started getting into that electronic synthesizer, electric guitar sound. And then 90s roll around and then we get stuff like that 90s like dance house music, like LaBouche and Depeche Mode and of course I'm blanking on all my favorite tunes right now from that, but like that really like that dancing driving beat with like really cool melodies and harmonies, usually including like some vocals. I was like, man, this is really cool. And so I would talk with my piano instructor and I'd be like, man, I heard this song on the radio. This is so cool. I'd love to learn how to play it. And and I mean in no disservice when I say this, but he's like, nope, that's not part of your routine. I have this formula. We're going through these pieces in this order because that's how he was trained and that's how his teacher was trained all the way back. Like he was very, very proud of his lineage, and I have absolute respect for that. But it was this point where I'm like, okay, but the music that I want to be playing, that I want to actively be creating sounds like this.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing is this. So, there came a point when it was like, okay, he's like, I don't think that I can really teach you much more the sort of things you want to be learning. Your learning style is different than my teaching style. And I was like, okay, sweet. Well, I'm going to be making this kind of music anyways. So, I just kind of made that transition at that point. This was in, let's see. Okay. So I think it was 97 because the song specifically was Robert Miles' Children. And it's like this beautiful trance beat, like 130, 135 BPM. And it's got this piano riff as the main hook. And I was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. And I took the song and I'm like, hey, can you teach me how to play this song? And he's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to figure it out then. And so I did. And that was kind of it. I'm like, I had this moment of realization. This was 97. So like computers were just starting to become a thing, but like really it was mostly outboard sequencers and synthesizers. And I think I had a friend who had one or something like that. And they showed me that like, yeah, you can play these notes and then it records it as a loop and then it'll loop that back. And that's how they make these techno songs. And I was like, whoa, this is so cool. And so that was it for me. And then, I remember what it was. My folks, I think it was for my birthday, freshman or sophomore year in high school. I got a Yamaha DJX, which was like basically the most advanced consumer keyboard synthesizer. It had actual analog synthesizer in it. And it didn't have a sequencer, but it did have sequence loops that you could trigger so that you could like, hey, bring in the bass line, bring in the kick drum, cut the snares, bring the snares back just by pressing the key. So there was like a performance mode. And then it has some knobs and like a resonance and cutoff knobs. So you could like play the sound and like tweak the knobs and like change the shape of the sound. And that was it. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced in my life. So yeah.
Nice. Game over.
That's it. I was hooked.
Yeah. Well, and you got some equipment behind you. Before we dive into some more of that, I'm interested. How do you think that your classical training has affected your electronic music?
Oh, it's critical. Absolutely critical. So the individual songs that I was learning, some of them I was like, yeah, this is great. I love this. Some of them I'm like, not really my vibe. But understanding like music, like first off, as a DJ, phrasing of the song, like, 16 bar, 8 bar, 8 bar, 16 bar. This is like the structure of how this song is laid out. And then when mixing in from one track to the next, there's a lot of things that you're considering. And that is like keeping the vibe alive from one track to the next. If you play this track that's like a really big banger and the next one's really like low key and mellow, you're not going to be able to carry that energy through the performance. So, track selection, knowing what you're listening to, in terms of the energy level of a song, and then the phrasing of the song, so that you want it the next song to drop at the right point. And there's a number of different ways you can choose that. You can make it so that the drop of the next song is right at the final beat, of the out, or the final beat of the B section of the previous song, or you can offset it, or you can overlap it, and it creates different experiences of that. Another major component that was critical for me is it really tuned my ear for what sounds I'm listening for. So, and that goes along with the energy as well. But really, it's like the subtleties of a song. So if one song has an arpeggiator in it, and then the next one has a drum beat that's kind of similar to that same arpeggiation, sequence or pattern, you can carry these similar sounds from track to track, and then that creates a continuity of sound, like just like these little intricate details of the song. Another aspect of it that's been a major help is just understanding like chord progressions and what key goes into another key. And so not every song is made in the same key. A lot of songs have, chord changes or key changes partway through. And so there are just some songs that they may both independently be amazing songs, but if they're like in two keys that are not compatible, it's just going to sound like a bunch of cats fighting in an alley or something like that. It's just like, ugh, that's not a pleasant sound.
Yeah.
So being able to understand mixing from one key to another key is better than another one. Really what it comes down to is listening to it by ear. There's systems out there. One of them is called the Camelot scale, and that takes an alphanumeric value and summarizes a key. So like, for instance, starts at 1A and it goes up to 12A. And then there's also 1B and that goes up to 12B. And the idea is that you can very safely mix from a track that's a 1A to a 2A or a 2A to a 3A, but you may want to not mix from a 3A to a 9A or a 3A to an 8A. So 1A is A flat minor, 1B is B major. So 1A, A flat minor, 2A is E flat minor, 3A is B flat minor. So if you're going through these and you would just play the chords, like, oh yeah, that's a very pleasant sequence of melodies. So you take that overall sound of the song that's in A flat minor and mix into a song that's in E flat minor, depending on how you mix it, but it's probably going to be a really smooth transition. So, like that's a cool tool that I learned, but then you combine that with all of the other things that you learn about through, music theory and composition and format. And like every single aspect of what I learned studying classical piano is applicable. The one thing that I struggled with the most was being able to sight read and learning notes. And that was one of the biggest points of contention between me and my piano teacher. Was like, you gotta learn your notes, man. I'm like, but just play it for me. And he would play it and I would play it back. And he's like, oh, okay, you did it, but you're not learning your notes. And I'm like, what do you want from me?
Yeah. No, this is one of the things that we talk about with the education team quite often, is that we teach, for some reason, music through symbols initially, whereas with the way that students actually, or kids, when they're babies, actually learn is they listen for a year or two, and then they babble incoherently, right, and then they say single syllables and then two syllables and then a couple words at a time, and then they say sentences. Then we teach them how to write the note A and or look at what the note. So it's like 4 or 5 years before we get into this abstract symbolism. And for some reason, we go the opposite way with music. We think that we shouldn't audiate before we actually learn the visual representation, which is just not how we learn.
Totally. Thank you for validating me there. Thank you, not just me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. There's a Gordon's learning theory. Gordon's music learning theory, I think is what it's called. He's a guy who really got into that audiation as the foundation for music, and it's getting a lot more traction, especially in the academic space. But the practical application of that within at least, music programs and whatnot, not as much. We're still using books, which is one of the big contentions that I have. It's like, dude, this is an auditory discipline, and you're trying to teach it out of a physical, like visual
Yeah.
stimulus. That makes literally no sense.
Mhm.
Especially when like, yeah, I mean, and so then they're like, oh well, we have a CD with this. It's like, okay, but you can't see what the person's doing. Like you're saying, like just play it for me, and then you can watch what their hands are doing. You can do
Yeah.
it with ear just by ear, but then watching, especially on piano, which is
Yeah.
nice because that's laid out so
Yes.
in such a way that you can see the relationships, the half and whole steps to see how the major or the minor scales fit
Yes.
together. Those kinds of things. Maybe we can talk about that for a little bit. So, how is that visual representation of the piano play into now your
Mhm.
electronic music? Because do you use
Yeah.
with MIDI, it kind of almost has that same representation, just stacked vertically instead of
Mhm.
horizontally.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
No, that's yeah. Thanks for that prompt because I definitely want to talk about that. So that was one of the biggest benefits that I have felt as an adult playing instruments is that starting with the keys, because you play with both hands and like the left hand is playing one thing and the right hand is usually like the left hand is like the chord and the right hand is like the melody or something like that. But it gave me a sense of different parts of the music doing different things. And these are the lower frequencies and they're used for this kind of a sound. And these are the higher frequencies and they're used for this kind of a sound. And the low ones are down there on the left and the high ones are up there on the right. And having that understanding of that structure, like you said, when you're looking at a MIDI sequencer or digital audio workstation DAW that's like flipped vertically, and so the low notes are down at the bottom and the high notes are up at the top, and you just drop on the grid, the music grid like that, and then you can create melodies, and you can just see like, oh, the sound's going to go up there, and then down, then up, and then down.
mm,
Like the first time I saw an arpeggiation transposed into MIDI, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. I was like, whoa, man, this is so cool. That's the computer's doing that in real time. Wow.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so having the knowledge of the layout, the format, you
Hmm.
know, seeing the notes, seeing the keys represented. It was always kind of weird for me. It's like, wait, why isn't there a black key in between these ones? And why isn't it like the same the whole way up? Little quirks of each instrument like that. But once I got it, it was kind of just baseline and understood. So everything else that I did after that um, was very easy once I started getting into uh, production on a computer using a DAW
Mm.
to be able to be like, okay, I need a bass line. The bass line needs to sound like this. And then I need like a lead synth, want to sound like this. I want to get some ambience in there. So maybe a synth pad or something like that. And then we need to get the drums sequenced out like this. I felt that understanding of having both hands doing multiple things on the piano
Hmm.
really helped me to understand how to do that uh, in like a digital performance as well. So like, okay, my left hand is triggering the drums and the drum loops like this. And then I'm going to trigger the bass line, which I have pre-recorded. And then I'm going to play the synth riff over the top while that's going on and then cut the drums, B line for, the B set for the bass line and then build up the drums and then do a B drop and then different synth line in the right. So yeah, it really gave my brain that capacity to think in parallel terms while I'm performing. Now that said, I've never been able to sing and play the piano at the same time. People who can do that, I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
that's incredible. I'm like just like two hands and like, okay, this is like maximum brain capacity here. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that is hard. I mean, one of the things I've never been able to sing and play drums or sing and play piano at the same time, but one of the things that I do challenge myself with from I got really into polyrhythms. In fact, I just wrote about this in our most recent stakeholder report, but Gavin Harrison, drummer for Porcupine Tree. I started playing when I was 15. I didn't take lessons. I'd been taking flute lessons since I was 4, saxophone lessons, piano lessons, but I just kind of like picked up the drums. My buddies and I bought instruments, played in my garage, and just, played, and we sucked until we didn't suck anymore.
Yeah.
And then, and then but I was listening to Porcupine Tree, Gavin Harrison, and there's a song called Sound of Music. And for 7 months, I'd play at least a couple times a week trying to figure out what he was doing. And all of a sudden, 7 months in, I realized this dude had split up a 7/4 measure into four equal parts, meaning that it was 1.75 four times. And
Whoa.
so it felt like you were in 4/4. And so then
Right.
I started researching this guy. He's got two instructional DVDs. One's Rhythmic Illusions, the other is Rhythmic Horizons, and like how you can make things that normally aren't danceable danceable. And it was just the most mind-blowing thing I'd ever experienced. So what I've been doing the past few years is I get on the piano and I'll play something that is maybe 3/4 with my right hand, then 4/4 with my right hand, and then I'll do a
Mm,
double bass drum pattern with my feet. So I'll do like a paradiddle or double bass or singles while I'm trying to do this, because then I'm trying to coordinate 10 different things and it becomes a pattern. It's not like I can actually think and do this in real time yet,
hmm
maybe eventually, but the patterns then say, okay, when this goes down and when this goes down, then this goes down, and then this
hmm
goes down, but this is still down. Like, and so it's all of this
hmm
really bizarre way of essentially syncing the hemispheres, and that's one of the things that just gets me lit up. It's a really
Absolutely.
painful, but really fun. So with the so explain to people at home and myself included. I've talked with a lot of DJs, but one of the things that you just said was interesting to me. So you have some triggers, you have some things that you're doing in real time. You're having to blend the first song with the next the song that's currently playing with the next song. You're having to think about the theory that's happening. You're having to think about the rhythm that's happening. So
Yeah.
what are all the different components of playing an electronic music set?
hmm Yeah. So the first one, I start with is what's the vibe? What's
Okay.
the setting? Who am I playing to? What other DJs am I playing with? What are they going to be playing? Um, and at least bringing something that is within the same realm of that. There's a number of different things there that folks will say. Everybody's got a lot of opinions on how a DJ should perform or what they should play or what they expect or what they want. But when it comes down to it, if you're getting booked as a musician or a DJ or anything, you're getting booked for you because you are a performer. You bring your flavor, your taste, your experience, and
Hmm.
and that's what you're doing. That's your art. That's your creation to share. So there's a fine line with that compromise between representing your passion and your art, but then also matching the I don't necessarily want to say expectations of the audience, but something that's going to engage the audience. If you come in and it's a drum and bass show and you come in and you start playing house music, which is like a really predictable four on the floor, and drum and bass is like this like really fast breakbeat style, people are going to look at you funny unless you do something cool and bring it back around into drum and bass, which I have heard, and it's just like, wow, it'll raise the roof. So that's the first thing is like set and setting. How are you showing up? What kind of vibe are you bringing? So coming into it with that, specifically what that means to me is, okay, I've got a signature style, or I have a number of different styles that I like to listen to, and then there's a difference between what I like to listen to and what I would want to play in a setting where people are going to be dancing. Sometimes I'll be playing like a listening lounge or like a dinner party or playing at a restaurant. And then you don't want driving, bass lines and huge danceable tracks. Maybe one or two, like if you're building the energy as you're playing through your set. But for the most part, you want that really soft background. Let the experience of people socializing be the center. And it's your job to facilitate a cool vibe, background, atmosphere, versus a dance floor where I will take some of my favorite songs. I'm like, it just doesn't have the drive to be able to take the performance where I want it to. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull that song, or not play it. Would sound really good with this song, but the drums just like don't hit. Especially with drum and bass, one of the things that I've noticed is that like the energy of the song is carried largely through the snares. So in some like liquid drum and bass or atmospheric drum and bass. So the drum and bass pattern is like so that is either going to be like a snap, which is really soft, or sometimes it's a snare, which is really driving. And I had this revelation while I was mountain biking. My favorite music to listen to when I'm mountain biking, hands down, is drum and bass. Like just good drum and bass, and it's like in it, driving, let's go. And I was listening to this playlist, and it had some of my favorite songs on it. And I was just like, yeah, pedaling, going downhill, going through berms, going through the forest. And then this other song came on. I'm like, oh, I love this song. And I just was like, oh, but it's not doing it for me. What's that about? And I realized that it was that energy carried through the snares. Like, interesting. This song has snaps or like a tick instead of that that 2/4 snare. And I was like, what? Interesting. Okay. And so then I went back and I reevaluated my whole music collection. And it's not 100%, it's not a rule, but for the most part, I'd say like 85%, especially in drum and bass, of the energy is carried through the snares. So that's one of the things is matching that energy. If you've got a song that's like really, really driving and the vibe is thick and people are like, wow, this is really great. And this energy is getting built up. And then the next song you play just has no drive whatsoever. It creates this huge sense of like letdown. And it's very subtle. It's not even conscious. People won't even think about it, but they'll be like, oh, I'm going to go say hi to my friend really quick, or I'm going to go step outside, or I'm going to go get another drink. And then the dance floor will clear. Everybody's still there. They're hanging out, but you lost the energy carrying that through. So, like I said, starting with like, what are people going to expect? Okay, it's a drum and bass show. We're going to play drum and bass. And then B, carrying the energy through. And that's really one of the most important things that I have re-emphasized in my performances in the last couple of years is really paying attention to that energy. Another genre that I like to play is, I guess, generalized called bass music, but the way I play it is very cross genre. So it'll range anywhere from like upbeat dubstep to instrumental hip hop to chill trap, instrumental trap music, everything in between. When I start one of those sets, I usually start off around 70 BPM, and then the next track is 75, and then 80, and then 83, and then 87. A lot of hip hop is in there in the 80s and 90 BPM, and there's so much good stuff. And then, up to the 90s, to the hundreds, 115, 120, 130, and the set of 140 BPM. It creates this like upwards momentum of energy as the tempo slightly increases. But then in bass music, it also goes halftime. So, you're ending at 140, you started at 70, those tracks can just drop right over the top of each other, and you just have like a little bit more pep in the step at the 140 versus the 70, which is a halftime like dub swing. So, in doing so, especially cross genre like that, it's really easy to have like a really cool song, but it just doesn't carry the same drive as the previous song. So positioning songs next to each other in such a way that energy shift, in a bass music set, you can be a lot more, especially like if it's a daytime performance and people are outside and the sun is shining and everybody's got smiles on their faces and they're just like, kind of doing their own thing, grooving the music. You have a lot more range and flexibility versus like a dance floor and people are there to dance and you got to stay on top of that. So, in that like positioning of the tracks next to each other, two really good tracks, and you should play both of them, but maybe we need a track in between to change that energy from this really high energy driving tune to open it up, let it breathe a little bit, play something with a little bit more melody and maybe some like really cool breakdowns that don't lose the energy, but they just like open up, and then people are like, oh, that's so nice. And then the next song that you play can be that halftime chill and like, oh yeah, because people are like loose into it and they got the groove, and then you can build it back up after that. So yeah, so there's different ways of carrying the energy through a set like that.
Nice.
Yeah, let me think if there's anything else specifically that I want to mention around that. Well, I kind of touched on it earlier too, like how you drop from one song to the next. So like, you're playing one song, it goes to the A drop, which is the first, the first build, and then boom, A drop, and you've got the A section of the tune, and there's usually a breakdown in the middle, and that breakdown can be anywhere from like 2 measures to some house music tracks where there's like 10-minute long songs. That breakdown in the middle can be like 32 bars. It's just like, whoa, that's a lot. And so sometimes in those you'll want to start like layering the next song, at least like some of the percussion in it, to at least give something for people to hook onto. If you have these big, huge breakdowns, especially in a high energy song and the music just cuts out, people are like, did the DJ just mess up? Did they like bump the power button? Like, what's going on? And it's very awkward. But you can also play with that too. Like, music cuts out, but if you can do it like right on the beat, like hip hop is really good with that. Just totally just like cut the sound, but just for like a little bit and then drop it right back on the beat. It creates that silence, that space in between. And then when that drop hits, like, ooh, yeah, that's really nice. So like, sometimes I'll be playing a song or preparing to play a song, and I'm like, man, this breakdown is just killing me. It's just too much. Like, this is a great song, and half of it's just missing. There's this big hole in the middle of the song. So I'll take it into Ableton, and then like takes like some of the intro or the outro, or maybe just take the middle section of it and like drop it over the top of itself, because sometimes they're so minimal, there's nothing going on. You can just take the fallout from the A section breakdown to the build that's coming up to the B drop section and layer them over the top of each other, and that cuts it in half, and it creates this nice like smooth out transition while still maintaining the energy of the track. The next part is, so like that's within the same track. The next part is, okay, when do you bring in the next track? And like I said, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but like most songs, not all, but most songs are phrased relatively similarly. So you can take them over the top of each other in the B. If like the A drop looks like this, the breakdown looks like that, the B drop looks like this, the outro looks like that. As I'm queuing up songs, I look at 2 things. The easiest way when I'm looking at the mixer console is I have cue points set for the different parts of the song, usually like right at the first beat and then right at the first drop. And so what I like to do is I queue up the song, hit the cue point for the first drop, and then I check what time in the track that is. When I'm playing drum and bass, that's usually 44 seconds in. So then when I'm watching the previous track on its way out, I'm watching that timer, and you can switch between count up and count down mode, and I do. So I cue the drop in track 2 that's coming in, and then I go to count up, and it's like, okay, so that's 44 seconds in, and then I go back to count down mode, and then I watch track A as it's mixing out, and as it comes close to 44 seconds, I'm like, okay, now's my time at 44 seconds, give or take, because there's always extra outro or like a reverb that goes off into infinity or something like that. It's like, okay, 54 seconds, and that's the 1 beat. Okay, cool. So I can either drop it right there, and then that means that the next track is going to land right at the end of that. So this one's going to be breaking down, and usually the drums carry near towards the end and then drop out. And then the ambience of the intro, the new song, comes in and starts overlaying that. What I've been playing with most recently that I'm really enjoying, especially playing like deep dubstep and drum and bass as well, it applies to, is waiting for 2 bars. So instead of dropping it right on that, wait for 2 bars, and then you get this little mini breakdown / build up right after the beat ends from the previous track, and then it kind of like builds up, and then boom, and you've got a really clean drop. One of the things that can happen as you're mixing 2 tunes, especially a tune that carries a melody or a synthesizer all the way to the very last beat, there can be this really abrupt transition. Even the whole mix can be really, really good, and it sounds really, really good, and then the track just drops out, and the new song is like, it feels like something's missing, because the build was so reliant on the previous track. And that's where looping comes in handy. A lot of DJs will take like a 2 or a 4 bar loop of the end of the previous song and just let that roll, and you have as much time in the world as you need. That works mostly if you have a consistent drum beat. It works great with house music, or they call it 4 on the floor. That's just 4/4 time. You got a kick drum on each one, you know, a snare on the 2 and the 4, and good to go. You know, rolling bass line, maybe like a little mid synth, and you just and you just roll that all day long and mix the new one in and then mix the old one out. You know, other tracks like the dubstep tracks, especially dubstep is 70 BPM, like really halftime. Deep dubstep is super spaced out. But the intros are pretty short-ish, but very open and atmospheric, and the outro is the same. There's not really anything to loop or latch onto because it's dissolving. The track is dissolving and expanding, and there's usually like some orchestral elements or vocals, and those are really challenging to loop because it's going to be fading out and then be loud and then fade out again and then loud and then fade out again. So there's a time and place for looping, and honestly, that's one thing that I need to focus on more. Is figuring that out. So I'm like, oh, you know, I use cue points and I'll set up cue points. So if I'm coming up to the end of a song and it's not ready, I'll be able to redrop the B drop, or play the intro again to make it come in. But yeah, looping is another powerful tool for them.
Well, that brought up quite a few things, but first, like I think the first one is cue points. So do you have a set, like, do you have a set, I guess? Do you have a predefined place that you're going to take your sets before you perform? Or is it just these cue points and then you have like, I understand that I'm at 90 beats per minute, I'm in this vibe, and here's the 20 or 30 different things that I could do? Or is it kind of a combination of both? How exactly do you go about mixing your sets?
Yeah, it depends. All of those are valid.
Okay.
And there's settings where I will go in with no idea whatsoever. I just know that, hey, I got a bunch of new tunes. They're really good. But to preface that entirely is that there, especially with digital, especially like I'm using Rekordbox on this thing here. You know, there's Tractor is another popular one, in Serato. I really enjoyed Serato. Didn't get my flow in Tractor. I couldn't figure it out. But the more time that you spend preparing your songs, and that is opening up the wave file, observing the wave file, the software automatically drops a beat grid over the top of the wave file. So you can see like 1, 2, 3, 4, and like doesn't always get it right. In fact, about 30% of the time it gets it wrong. So if you go out and just get a tune, you load it in, you haven't set your beat grid, is what that's called, or any cue points. Now the console thinks that so like drum and bass is 87 BPM usually, and sometimes the software says it's 113 BPM. I don't know where it gets that number. I'm sure that it's like some percentage fraction given the breakbeat landing on this thing, and it's like, oh yeah, it's 113, but like consistently, it's like, what? So if you come in and you're relying on that number and you're relying on the beat grid and you look at it and you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do right now. Like the sound is off, like what? So, you know, knowing your music, preparing your music, you know, that said, back in the day, we used to DJ on vinyl. And there's no beat grid. There's no indicator on it, like, you know, time remaining. You would literally just look at the piece of vinyl like, oh, the needle is halfway through the record. That means I have about 2 thumbs worth of time to mix into the next track.
Very precise.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the breakdown. Like that was one of the cool things about vinyl is like you could look at it and you could, oh, well, that part of the track is really busy because it's like, you know, it's got a lot of texture to it. And then that's where the breakdown is because it's just like really shallow, empty grooves. And then you can see the drop again where the texture on the vinyl gets thick.
You can actually see all that, huh?
Yeah, fully.
Wow.
And that was really cool. And then that like gave me a whole different understanding of how to visually interact with the music in a completely analog medium, you know? So today with the computers, we have the opportunity to take it in there and prepare the song, set the beat grid, you know, make sure that the 1-1 beat is actually on 1-1 and not off in some weird thing, and make sure that the quantization of the rest of the track lines up. So at the end of the track, you know, so I'll always go in, make sure that the 1-1 beat is on point, and then I'll go to the 3/4 of the way through the track, you can turn a metronome on in the software, in the beat grid editing mode. And so I turn the metronome on and I start at the beginning of the track. I'm like, yep, it's on there. And then I go 3/4 of the way through the track. I'm like, yep, it's on there. Okay, good. So the beat grid is set. And then what I go through is set a cue point. Like I mentioned earlier, I try to set 2 cue points, one on the 1/1 beat, that at least the beat that I want to start playing on. Some tracks will have like a 2-minute ambient intro, and then like a little shaker or something starts at 2 minutes. And that's where I want to start mixing in, because from there's going to be 44 seconds and then the beat's going to drop. So I'll set that 1/1 beat from when I want to start playing, and then I'll set a cue point at the A drop. Sometimes, depending on the song, like if there's a really cool sound in the intro, I'll set an additional cue point so I can jump back to that sound, overlay it with something else. Then if I want to get really meticulous about it and I want to play a pre-programmed set, but what you outlined at the beginning, like do you prepare a thing? I call that, many people call that a programmed DJ set. So I have an hour and a half. That means I'm going to play 32 songs, and I'm going to play these songs in this order. And in doing so, that gives you a very specific performance. You can practice it, you can rehearse it. So if I'm preparing a set like that, then I will set a third cue point, and you can color code them as well. I'll set a third cue point telling me when to start mixing the next song. So I've got track 1, 2, 3 down to 32. So track 1, I'm going to play all the way to here, and then I put a red cue point, or actually red's really hard to see on the display, so I need to change colors. Maybe orange or a yellow cue point at the end of the track. And when I get to that, when I see the time indicator coming up to that cue point, that's when I need to press Q1 on the next song, such that the outro and the A drop land exactly the way I want them to. So I'll have like usually 3 cue points. Like I said, some songs will have a bunch more, so that like I can like remix the song on the fly. Like, oh, it's coming towards the end. Go back to the A drop. You know, a lot of hip hop songs are like a minute and a half, 2 minutes tops, two and a half for like a long song. And when you're DJing, that's actually like pretty short amount of time. You lose about 15 to 30 seconds mixing the intro, and 15 to 30 seconds mixing the outro. And now you're left with like a minute or less than a minute of a song. And during that time, you have to go through and scroll through, especially if you're performing in the like this improvisational fashion. You have like a minute to figure out what song you want to play next. Does it have the right vibe? Are the keys going to be compatible? Are there going to be conflicting vocals? All these decisions that have to go into play. So, you know, those are some of the benefits of pre-programming a set, is you can really over-prepare. And come in, you can be, unless you like really mess up, you know, it's going to sound pretty good. So then the other one is, you know, the other style is like freeform. And, you know, a lot of folks, there's a lot of ego, I'm sure, in all aspects of music performance, but in DJing too, it's like, oh, you're using the sync button. Well, then you're not a real DJ. And a sync button is when it takes like, okay, this track's 120 BPM, this track's 124 BPM. But the 120 is set as the master. You press sync, it's going to automatically match. Supposing your beat grids are on, it's going to match those, so you don't have to adjust the pitch to change the BPM of the pitch sliders to match the BPMs. I think sync is fine. I've played with sync. It's handy. I'll use it only if I'm like really not able to match the beats. I'm like, man, it's close, but I just can't get it. I'll just tap sync on and off, and it'll usually, sometimes, if the beat grids are right, just line them just up. So when you're matching one song to the next, the first thing you need to do is set the tempo to be the same, right? If you're playing 120 and 124, they're going to sound great for one beat, and then they're going to start turning into what's called a train wreck.
Yeah.
And it's painful. It's painful for everybody. It's painful for people on the dance floor. It's painful for people listening. It's painful for the DJ especially. So the sync, if supposing your beat grids are on, just eliminates that. Just focus on the mix, focus on choosing the songs, focus on EQing out. So mixing one track into the next, you know, you have the bass cut out on the track that's leading in. and then you can swap the bass lines over
Mm.
by turning the bass off on the previous song and on in the new song, and like the whole bass line just switches and creates some really cool effects, really smooth transitions.
Mm.
So yeah, so sync is a thing. But when you're coming in with like freeform DJ set, you just come in with a list of songs. You usually on your USB key, and you're gonna play to the moment, right? I know for a fact I want to play this song. Usually when I'm doing a freeform set, I'll prepare like at least the first 2 or 3 songs,
Mm-hmm.
just because like any performance, you're gonna have to do a warm up. Try and warm up at home. But sometimes you get there and it's like, okay, well, no time to warm up. I'm playing in 2 hours. There's 2 other DJs ahead of me. So no warm up time here. I'm just kind of starting cold. So I'll have at least 2 or 3 tracks that I know are going to be good, that are going to sound good together, so I can shake off the nerves, find the groove. That said, you also have to play out of the previous performer. So whatever track they end on is going to be what you start with, and that can be, if you came and you're like, well, I'm going to play this, and then they end up playing something totally different, and that's one of the biggest risks of having a program set. You can make your program set perfect and your performance is going to be impeccable. But B, if you come in thinking that the party is going to be like this and it actually ends up being like that, and you come in with this pre-prepared set that does not match the vibe whatsoever, you're screwed. So you have to be ready to be like, okay, well, I came in with the best intentions and the best plan. It was going to be great, but it's just not going to vibe here. So that's when you have to go into freestyle mode. Like, okay,
Mm.
none of these tracks are going to work. I need to go to this playlist that I put together for this, whatever. And I know what tracks in there. So knowing your music collection, preparing your songs, setting cue points. That said, I'm sorry, I digress, but when we back in the days of vinyl, back in the days, people still play vinyl. It's great. I have friends like that'll be a thing, like an all vinyl night, and everybody's just playing on the Technics 1200s. They come in with their vinyl bags, and they've got like 30 records in their bag, and that's great. But you don't have any cue points there. You don't have a beat grid there. It's all matching by ear and by memory of like that album has this label on it, and that red label means that's a good track, and then the next one I want to play after I play the red one is the purple one. You're not paying attention to, sorting by BPM or anything like that. You're just playing by ear. So you don't need a beat grid, right? You don't need the sync button. You don't need any of these things. But if you prepare those in advance, it sets you up for so much more success coming in and being able to perform live. You just don't have to think about it. You know exactly the beat grid's on, the cue points are set. Now I'm just going by listening. So like load that tune. Nope, that's not the right tune. Load that tune. Nope. Oh, that reminds me of this song. Yeah, let's go find that song. There it is. Load that in, play it.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's really a combination of all of them. Even if you come in with like a super well prepared set and the vibe isn't right, you're gonna have to go back to improv mode. So
Yeah. Interesting. Well, so on this is the other thing that came up, which this is leading into as well, is the snare. So one of my I guess heroes, if you could call it that, one of the guys that I learned how to play from, Jojo Mayer, he had this instructional DVD, 28 minutes long, super short, called Secret Weapons of the Modern Drummer. And he explained all of the physics behind each individual joint, leading all the way up your hand to be able to maximize speed and power and all these things. And he's in a live drum and bass group called Nerve, Jojo Mayer Nerve.
okay.
And so my question is, like, do you know, and another great like live electronic band that I've seen a couple times, Schwangel.
Oh yeah.
Do you know Schwangel? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there is some DJing happening, but then there's Raha Ram with his flute, and there's like sometimes a full circus going on, and it's just incredible. So my question is, like, what do you think about I guess for lack of a better way of describing, like acoustic musicians performing the electronic style of music?
Oh, I love it. I think that's so I don't know. Almost second guessing myself before I even say it here, but like, synthesis is a synthetic version of real analog music. It's recreating digitally what used to be done acoustically. I think acoustic dance music is freaking amazing. I love it. It's some of the best performances I've ever seen
Mm,
are bringing that. I just threw a festival with some friends up in Washington called Cascadia, and one of the acts that came through was called Wildebeest, and they had a horn section that they were playing over the top of bass music, and oh man, it was a show. People loved it. It was so great, and just like they're back there, just like pouring their heart into their performance, and people are just absorbing it and reflecting it back with dance floor energy. I think it's incredible. I think it's great. Honestly, like when I'm out and I'm just DJing, I feel like, man, I got to bring something better, like something more to this performance. And there's DJs that do. There's DJs that'll play saxophone. Um, you know, KJ Saka is a name that comes to mind. He does electronic drums, but he will play like a drum and bass song with electronic drums, and he'll do like a set of that. I'm like, I don't even know how a human being can physically perform at that level for so long. Like, I don't know what deal with what devil you made, but it's working out, man. Like that's incredible. That's incredible. So yeah, I think that the live, especially acoustic instrumentation, whether it's over the top of electronic music or just dance music or danceable music in the format of electronic music that's purely acoustic, that absolutely tickles my fancy. I think it is like
you gotta check
top
out
tier.
Jojo Mayer, man. You gotta
I've written it down. I'm going to do that the moment we're done here. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's so fast, and some of his newer stuff, he's probably got to be in his 60s now, so he's slowed down a bit. But when you watch some of his old stuff, dude, like he is so fast, so accurate, and then yeah, it's just incredible. And he does like hour-long drum and bass, so they're not really stopping. They're just like playing
Wow,
for an hour at super high
wow.
speeds. Um, but so then the other question that comes up is, what do you think about bands that incorporate a DJ like Incubus or like there's a lot of bands, Nelly Furtado, these kinds of groups that might play more poppy music, but then they or what's it? Linkin Park has a DJ, right, as
Mhm.
well, in metal music.
Mhm.
What do you think about that kind of blend?
I have no idea what that DJ is doing. What are they doing? Do you have like a sample? Are you like scratching? I don't know. I've never understood that. I'm like, as a DJ, if I was the DJ for Linkin Park, what what are you doing? Why couldn't they just get somebody? Are you doing a drum loop? You've got a drummer right there. Are you doing a synthesizer loop? There's somebody playing a synthesizer right there. Are you like scratching samples? I guess I could see that if you're a turntablist. And so that's probably, I don't know. People are probably laughing at me right now because like, dude, you just don't even know. I have no idea.
I have
Unless
no
they're a
idea either.
turntablist. I mean, that I could see. And I have mad respect for turntablism, like ultimate respect for turntablism. I've tried it. I've dabbled. I have some friends who are like pro, and they've very patiently, very, very gently and kindly guided me through on how to do some basic turntablist techniques, and they're like, well, no, Geoff, that's not it, but good try again. And I do, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to leave this to you. You're the turntablist. Mad respect. That's incredible. I love listening to it, especially a good one. Turntablists and MCs both can be great, or they can be way too much. A lot of people who scratch like put the volume on the thing that they're scratching like way too loud, like double the volume of the actual song that they're playing over, and it's just like, whoa, it's this really jarring experience. Similarly, when an MC just like MCs over the entire song and they don't let the song breathe. Like I came to listen to the music, not necessarily to a person yelling at me all night. Like if a DJ in a band is like adding like some scratching and turntablism, like mad respect. But when I listen to any of those bands that you mentioned, I'm like, I could easily tell you that there may or may not be a DJ in there. I'd probably say not. Like
Yeah.
what are they doing? I don't know. If they're turntabling, turntablists, but respect. That's great. But I don't hear it in the output of the song. I'm like, it's just somebody standing back there in front of turntables looking cool, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I was jamming out last night for a couple hours, and the NPR Tiny Desk concert series popped up in my YouTube feed, and it was Nelly Furtado, and I was like, I don't listen to her very much, but I'll put this on and see what I can jam to. And she was introducing all the different members of the band, and she's like, we've got some of my current members, some of my really old from first to second album, and here's the DJ. And she introduces the guy, and she's like, and I'm really glad to have him on stage because he's also the father of my daughter who put this whole thing together. And I was like, oh, okay. So like,
Well, it should be the DJ. Come on in. Yeah.
I was like, okay. Well,
Maybe that's what it is. It's the token empty slot for the pity thing. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny too. Like she's been around for 25 years. So what was it like? They like hit meteoric success, and then it's just like, I guess that we should have sex now. Like, we're just so high on all these
Right.
things that are happening. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, well, yeah, okay. So you are, where are you located? Where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm down in Portland. Portland, Oregon. I used to be up in Seattle for quite a while. I moved there in 2008. Moved up to Bellingham for a little bit, down to Portland for about a year now. But yeah, definitely Pacific Northwest. That's my flow. That's my vibe. I play by Jensen, Jnsn. And I'm about to change my SoundCloud URL. But right now it's Jensen, spelled Jensen, which is my last name, 206, Seattle area code. So I'm going by a different name in a different town. So, that's I knew that too when I was setting up my socials originally. I'm like, man, this is great for Seattle, but the moment I move, if ever, it's going to be irrelevant. Yeah, so I don't know. But that's where I'm at, SoundCloud/Jensen206. I'm on Facebook, Geoff Jensen, and then Instagram is jnsn.gif, jensen.gif. I don't really post any music stuff on Instagram, but SoundCloud is the where to find me. But yeah, just look up JNSN on there, and that'll be me.
Yeah, I was listening to those sets that you did at Cascadia and jamming along to those, man. They were great. So I advise people to go and check out what Geoff is doing.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Was that, by the way, before we get off, was that programmed or was that freeform?
So I played two sets. I played one called The Witch's Hour, which is the deep dubstep, which is one of my absolute favorite genres to play, but never gets played out. Like you'll almost never hear that in a club, which is a crying shame because the music is so heady and phonic and there's just so much space and atmosphere. That one was it was a combination of both. I knew that I wanted to play these songs. These are my favorite songs. I think they're the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. I have to play them. I pretty much had an open time slot, so it could be anywhere from an hour and a half to however long. I think it ended up being about 2 hours long. And so I basically just played until I ran out of songs, and then my buddy came on and played after me. On that one, because I was like, these are my favorite songs, it wasn't necessarily curated. I mean, it was, but not like digging through my collection, like, okay, that one, none of these, that one. I did that a little bit, but it was like, no, these are all the songs that I have to play. I haven't been able to play a set like this in years. I'm going to play them. So before I went to Cascadia, I was like, okay, I just want to do a test run and see what they sound like together. So glad that I did. So I just like improv'd and played them all. In a situation like that, I was gonna say, oftentimes what I'll do is you can sort by key. So you're gonna start in F minor. Okay, cool, because that's the song that I want to start with is in F minor. Where do I go from there? So you can sort by key, and then that can kind of give you a sense of what's going to sound good together, but really it comes down to the energy of the song. So it's like, okay, well, that's great, but I need to energy match the songs more than key match the songs. So I'll start there. Most dubstep is all at the same BPM, 70 BPM-ish, 68, 69. That's where I play. And then just match the energy from there. So, in that case, I knew for a fact I wanted to start with this song. This is my intro song. It's weird. It's eccentric. It has cool sounds. People are going to be like, "Is this dubstep?" That mean, is this a dubstep? And then take it from there. So I practiced the set at home before, the hour before I left, and then I listened to it on the way up to the gig, and then I was like, okay, good stuff, and it could be way gooder if I did it differently. And then when it came performance time, I had at least a sense of what it was going to sound like. And then when I performed, I'm like, nope, those have to go in a different order. Sorry, song, you're amazing, but I can't play you. You just don't fit with these other tracks. So that was a combination of both. Now, the amps set that I played, that's a bass music set. I'll improvise a lot of performances like that, but it can be very challenging because bass music, particularly, sometimes like it has a hip hop intro, which is like 2 bars, or like a 1 bar lead in and a one and boom, and then the song drops. Sometimes there's like a 2.5 minute long ambient atmospheric exploration through sound, and then just the heaviest beat you've ever heard in your life 2 minutes in. And so I did a lot of preparation on that set because, like I mentioned earlier, I started at like 68 or 70 BPM. And then every song after that was either like the same BPM. Maybe there's like 2 songs in a row that were the same that I didn't have to beat match. But then every song was 5 to 10 to 12 BPM higher than the previous song. And if you're listening to it with that in mind, you can tell, oh, yeah. No, I hear it. You just sped it up a bit there. Usually I'll like wait for breakdowns so that there's not a beat, or as a beat is building up, you can increase the pitch a little bit, and then which speeds up the song. So you can increase the pitch, but like on the modern controllers, you can also lock the tone. So you can increase the pitch, which would be the speed of the record. Back in the day, if you increase the pitch, everything would get higher, right? As it got faster, because that's how it works. You compress the waveform, things get faster, things get higher pitch, you get the squirrel voices. But with modern equipment, you can set a master tempo. I don't know why my computer does that. It drives me nuts. Hey, there we go. Celebration. That's great. Right. That's great. Thank you, technology. With modern technology, such things are possible. So you can lock the key that the song is in while increasing the tempo. So I rely heavily on that because when you're adjusting the pitch with just the tempo, you don't notice it so much. But as suddenly, like you're listening to a song and the vocals start turning into chipmunks, like that's pretty noticeable. Like, wait, they're doing something weird there. So in that set, I had those tempos locked. I was paying very close attention to the energy of one track to the next and how I'm going to mix and where does one song drop to the next. And that was largely based on the feedback of one of the last performances I did. It's kind of like things got crazy during the apocalypse when everything closed down. And I think it was the first time that I played out after things started opening up. And I played some of my favorite tunes, and some of my close buddies were there who also play similar music. And they're like, man, that was, I always ask for critical feedback from a performance because I'm always looking to improve. I can be as pleased as punch with myself, but if there's a way for me to improve, please, absolutely, I want to hear it. And they were saying, man, I loved it. Like, I love all of that music that you're playing, but I just felt like it didn't drop the way I wanted it to, like, especially in between tracks. And my buddy said, and I noticed that I would have mixed those songs the same way. But now that I'm on the dance floor listening to them, I have a different perspective. So, my only feedback would be see if you can tighten up the way that one track leads into the next. So that I really put a lot of effort into that amp set of like, okay, this song has a super long intro, or this song sounds great and I've mixed it 4 times. And every time I do, the previous song falls out because the intro sounds like it's going to drop and then it just goes for a minute and then it drops. So cut that first part out, drop it 2 measures before the A drop. And then you do that and you put that over the previous song and then boom, it flows so good. It flows so good together. So that one I put a lot of effort making sure that every single track I had the mix out point with the A drop point And so when it hits the mix out cue, I hit the drop cue, and then I do the finesse. And the whole time I'm writing the pitch to make sure that the BPMs are lining up to make sure that we can move forward and like move it up the BPM range. So yeah,
Well, they are great, man.
cheers, appreciate it. I had a lot of fun with it. I got to play the amp set. I got to play on a set of Void acoustic. Sorry, Incubus Void Incubus. I don't even remember what it was. It was the most incredible speakers I've ever played on in my life. It was just, so I was like, okay, I have to do these speakers honor. I have to play this set perfectly. I have to play the most high fidelity, cool sounding songs I possibly can. And so yeah, it was just an incredible experience. I was glowing for like weeks after that. It was great.
Nice.
So thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I hope everybody at home learned a lot about electronic music, learned a lot about Geoff. Go check him out. His music's amazing. And if you're in the Pacific Northwest, see when he's what are your performances listed on SoundCloud too, or like when you're
They should be. I don't really have anything lined up right now.
Okay.
I usually will post, honestly, Facebook is where I do most of the promo for any music. And then I also started doing Mixcloud, and I have like 0 followers on Mixcloud. I don't know, there's like no traction there whatsoever. I also don't pay any attention to it, but Mixcloud will say upcoming performances. So I'm thinking about putting more energy into that at some point. But
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you again, and until next time, everybody listening at home, I hope that you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you then.